I will be looking at the legendary actions of the bosses in Act 3 and maybe trying to give a few tips for the bosses. By the very nature of this video, this is very spoilery. This is for honor mode only. The bosses only get legendary actions if you start the game in honor mode. So I'll be trying to show you exactly what each of the legendary actions does and maybe ways to try and mitigate them. If you want a detailed breakdown of the characters in my party, I released a video about my Act 2 honor mode party. The sharp-eyed among you might have noticed I now have a Starin in my party, and that's because Cazador doesn't actually have his legendary actions if Starin isn't here, because he can't start the ritual and he's actually a lot easier. So if you want to fight Cazador kind of on easy mode in honor mode, just don't take a Starin down here with you and then you can deal with the consequences of that. But if a Starin is here, then he will start the ritual and he has his legendary action. So this first round of combat can be very, very painful. And this is because Cazador has 7 ritual sources. For each ritual source, it deals an extra 1d10 necrotic damage. Also has a lot of temporary hit points, extra movement speed. Some sources here of the ritual give him extra abilities. So Yusen heals him 2d8 hit points every turn. Starin gives him an extra bonus action. And Violet gives him an additional 5 to his armor class. And that's saying nothing about his legendary action. He does have legendary resistance, a plus 10 bonus 3 times. This will come up a lot in this video. His legendary action calls forth a swarm of vampire bats to attack an enemy who steps within 33 feet of him, and actually it knocks them back if we look at this in a bit more detail. So his targets are pushed back 23 feet and may become swarmed, meaning the entity is vulnerable to piercing damage and will take 4d8 piercing damage every turn, and it heals Cazador. And this happens if you just walk within 33 feet of him. So that should be 10 meters. The hopefully obvious way to avoid that is just use ranged attacks. Try not to get within 33 feet of him. So he's about to cast Cool Lightning, which does 5d10 lightning damage. And because of the ritual sources, 7d10 necrotic damage. That ends up being quite a lot. It's being cast at level 5 because it's doing 5d10 instead of 3d10. I'm going to let this through just to show you how bad this can be. So there we can see there's 5d10 lightning damage and the 7d10 necrotic damage to multiple people. Quite painful. I'm going to sacrifice the diva to show you the legendary action. Go. So there's the legendary action. That did a lot of damage, and it includes the 7d10 necrotic damage from the ritual sources. So the key to this fight is getting rid of the ritual sources. Now you don't have to kill all of these sources. What you can simply do, stand on this red circle, and it drains Cazador of one of his sources. The second thing I would recommend is Daylight. Just stick down on this sphere just right in the middle of the arena here. Will stop him from being in his mist form, which by the way makes enemies us blind and inflicts 3d6 necrotic damage at the start of our turns. We don't want that happening. And then get whoever you can onto as many of these different ritual circles as you can, and you will slowly but surely weaken him. Having summons works really well in this fight. Let's stick him up there. He'll last a few rounds. If you can, on the first turn, get someone to get a Starin out. That permanently removes one of the ritual sources. One way to try and do this is to use Dimension Door, because the range of Dimension Door is really far. Much higher than any of the other teleportation spells without any sort of meta magic. And you can use an action, if you didn't know, to free a Starin, but I just need to get my Bard out of the way first. So I'm going to use Gale for that. And if I'm lucky, I'll still be able to Misty Step onto another ritual source. So he only has now, how many left? 2 ritual sources left. It's probably more important to kill all of these other enemies first, because Cazador can only attack 1 or 2 people per turn. And by standing on these ritual circles, you do get 10 temporary hit points. Your attacks and spells deal an additional 1d10 necrotic damage. A tiny bit of extra movement speed. It's really, really useful, to be honest. Just realized I've got an invisible Quasit. Right. That will certainly help. This taking away a ritual source. So now Cazador has no ritual sources. And so there, without his ritual sources, he casts Blight, which does honestly not that much damage when he can only do it once per turn. Whee, there he goes. Clever Cazador. That's a slightly ridiculous shove distance, if you ask me. Hey ho. And we'll find that having Daylight and Cloud Kill does a very good consistent amount of damage to him. So we should be able to finish him off, I think. Let's turn this on. Ooh, nice. Frightened. One more hit, we'll get him. Somehow feels fitting for a Starin to have done that. So yeah, a few things to watch out for in this fight. One, if you stand near the edge, Cazador will shove you off. And two, do not leave these ritual sources unattended. Probably a good idea to bring some summons. And if you want to avoid all of this nastiness, don't bring a Starium. And I'd say whatever you do, stick Daylight down in the middle here, and it will cover most of the fight. You could enchant an item and have someone run around, but I do feel like if you're standing on these ritual circles, that might not be the best idea. So interestingly, Mystic Carrion has a couple of things going on. The normal stuff, like to do with his body parts, which you have to go and find and destroy. You pretty much have to go and destroy the heart first, otherwise he can't actually be killed. And the heart can be found in this building, the building where my cursor is now, actually quite close to Phil Gray's mansion. So aside from the heart, I've actually left all of the other body parts intact. So I will be taking him on with all of the other body parts, which is his brain, liver and lungs, I believe. Now, since he has his brain still, he cannot be surprised, which is a bit sad. But he's just within range of my slashing flourish, which is perfect. And actually, I should try and kill one of his servants rather than him to show off his legendary action. That should do. There we are. So use Torrential Undeath on my bard, who is immune to Frightened, which is because of thoroughly stuffed, which comes from Hero's Feast, and I'll be talking about that later for sure. So one of the ghouls was healed for 21 hit points. It's quite hard to tell which one that is, but yes, so killing one of his allies makes him retaliate back against you and potentially heal some of his remaining allies. Now, like the other bosses, he does have legendary resistance, so can get a +10 bonus to saving throws. One way to combat that is to use as many spells that force saving throws as possible. Interestingly, Mystic Carrion didn't use his legendary action. Mystic Carrion can only use this once per round and only comes back at the start of a round. So if you're worried about the legendary action, try to get rid of as many undead allies as he's got as you can in one round. But I mean, generally it's probably just a good idea anyway. But if you were really worried, I guess you could line it up so you lower the hit points of the enemies as much as possible without killing them. Then in one round, get rid of all of them in one go. So it's the start of a new round. So when I almost inevitably kill one of his allies, which one should we go for? I'll go for this one. So Wrathful Spirits came out again. He didn't heal any of his allies, which is a bit surprising considering how badly some of them are hurt. Now that is quite dangerous. Effectively, that's Cloud Kill. But I have used Hero's Feast, so, I mean, my characters are fine. So I've had enough of Mystic Carrion now. So I'm just going to blast away at him. There we are. Down he goes. So there, the legendary action isn't too difficult to deal with. You're going to get potentially frightened. So if you've used Hero's Feast ahead of time, that would be really good. Or any other way to give you immunity to frighten, such as calm emotions maybe. Or sometimes there are classes that have advantage on saving throws against being frightened, or you're a halfling or something. Next up, I'm going to cover Viconia, and I've seen people online say this is one of the hardest fights. I can see why. There are just so many enemies, let alone anything else that happens here. Interestingly, Viconia has two different legendary actions that she can use. Hopefully we'll be able to see both of them happening in combat. So the first one is called Heart Wrench. Once per round, Viconia can spend a legendary action to Heart Wrench, a heart form mapped creature, after it strikes her or her allies. So during the combat, she will heart form map some people, and she can use this, which does 10d12 psychic damage. That's pretty hefty. And secondly, she can use Sanctuary of Loss, basically Sanctuary spell, which she can use on an ally when it's struck, which is actually very powerful because it means you can't target that creature directly. but AoEs do work, which is how we'll get around that. So having a good initiative will really help you out here. So let's have a shot off against... I can't harm Viconia because she's already under Sanctuary. Whoops. All right, let's not take a shot off against her. So try and destroy as many individuals as you can when you can. I'm wondering if I can actually split these up and kill 2 at once. Yes. Oh, no, not quite. So there, Viconia is going to use Sanctuary of Loss. I'm going to let that through. I'm just going to use Sonic Backlash to do some damage to Viconia. And so now I cannot target this Sharon Novice. But it's not as if I can't use Area of Effect spells. One general piece of advice is just to move back up the stairs where you've come from, because it will funnel all of these enemies down into a choke point here and basically on the stairs. And then you can unleash whatever brilliant Area of Effect spells you've got ready. So we have to wait until Viconia does something to harm us before we can hit her with targeted attacks. I think with such a large number of enemies around, confusion will really help. All but guarantees to take 4 of them out of combat for the turns. And if we're lucky, they'll even hurt each other. Now, when you're fighting so many enemies, I would advise using some of your stronger resources on the first turn. Because by doing this, I've now killed that Sharon. This one's out of the next turn, but I may as well... Whoops. Try and finish him off. There we are. And so that's 2 fewer attacks coming my way, which makes every subsequent round even easier. The first round of combat is your chance to take out as many enemies as you can. Sometimes this is known kind of like as alpha striking. The fact is, I've now taken out... Well, I don't know how many enemies there are, but... The 4 closest enemies there, these 3 are confused, so they're unlikely to hurt me. One of these is asleep, which will waste at least the movement of some of them. So by moving back, we've moved out of range. There we are. That was one of the Heartform mapped abilities. Now, Destructive Wave. Using the Radiant version will deal a fair amount of damage to Gale, because we do have, where's it gone, Radiant Retort there. Whenever you take Radiant damage, reflect it back at your attacker 2-fold as force damage. I think it's mostly just Viconia who has it. Alright, famous last words and all. Destructive Wave. There we are. And because he's got Cull the Weak as well, actually took out, don't know how many that was, but 3 or 4 of them. And I gave him an Elixir of Bloodlust. I forgot about that. So he gets to go again. Awesome. Level 4 Fireball. Now, because Viconia was knocked prone, she didn't get to use her legendary action. And this is true, I think, for every single boss. And that's always going to be a good tip. If you can knock them prone, which Destructive Wave does without any saving throw, then you're not going to have any problems. So there's the legendary action, Sanctuary of Loss. That's the one I was waiting for. We might be able to get rid of the Sanctuary if we make her attack. So no longer is she sanctuaried. Viconia's wisdom saving throws are particularly high. So I can try this, but it's not... Oh, wow, it worked. Nah, I was not expecting that. Cloud Kill would have been good earlier also. Now I have used Hero's Feast, so you can put Cloud Kill on your allies if you've used Hero's Feast, and they won't suffer any damage. Down goes Viconia, one of her allies. So I didn't actually get to see the other legendary action here. You only put Heart Wrench onto Shadowheart, I believe, twice. So had Shadowheart been close enough and attacked one of her allies, then she would have taken 10d12 psychic damage. I guess the only way to mitigate that is by having a potion of psychic resistance, which there are some around, you can make them. Otherwise, you're going to have to take care to make sure you are attacking with the right person. So if someone has been Heartform mapped, keep them away from Viconia. Next up is Ansur. Now, Ansur hasn't actually gained any new legendary action in Honor mode. Even in Tactician, they had this legendary action before. I say they because there is another dragon. We're here for... This is spoiler territory, right? The dragon up on the top of the Netherbrain has the same legendary action, Draconic Wrath, except with fire damage. I'm just going to show you this quickly because it can be pretty damaging. Now, I haven't been very clever. I haven't taken a potion of lightning resistance, which would be the ideal thing here. So I'm going to send Lae'zel round to the back. She will get an attack of opportunity, which I find a bit annoying, is that once we get within a certain range, let's just come to here. and almost any movement, like just to get round Ansur will provoke an opportunity attack, but oh well. Hopefully we'll survive. Good, right. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. So I'm gonna have to use like Misty Step to get here, which is not really what I wanted. But oh well. Right, so if I attack, turns in that direction. Oh, the legendary action, there it is. It's not shown here, it was shown before, but it does say it's a 200-foot range and does 12d6 lightning damage. So yeah, Potion of Lightning Resistance will help you out here. But once you've attacked once, it's okay. You don't get the Draconic Wrath every single time you attack, it's just the first time in a round. So then you can go all out. Invalid target. Does he not have a soul? That's one for scholars to work out. Now, what's going to happen soon enough is Ansur's going to rise up and do lots of lightning damage potentially. I heavily suggest that you do use Globe of Invulnerability to save you from that. This can be problematic, right? You can get everyone outside the room, that works. You can try and hide behind these attuned crystals, but I just find that a bit, what's the right word? Finicky. There's a good word. It's a bit difficult to make it always happen. So yes, this is where Globe of Invulnerability will usually help out. Got to make sure Gale does not lose concentration, so he's not even going to move right now. The ghouls are going to die, almost certainly. Crystals are gone. But Ansur's back down on the ground. These we don't need to worry about while we are inside the Globe of Invulnerability. Don't know if that's going to get... No, it's not going to get Tavengath. Okay. So you will find when you would have killed Ansur, he causes problems. Because now we have hoarding energy coming up. I have stocked up on Globes of Invulnerability. I would say this can be one of the more difficult fights in my opinion. But after that, just one hit point left. We'll be fine. So I do find that fight can be quite hard if you don't have ways of doing good single target damage. Having Potions of Lightning Resistance really help. Globe of Invulnerability, or trying to position yourself up by the door here, just getting away from his massive Stormheart Nova. The radius of it is very far-reaching indeed. So next up is Raphael, and before you start the fight, you have the opportunity to get Jurgir, the Orthon, to join your side. Now it's not easy, but you should do everything in your power to make it happen. Friends is a good time to use this, because he'll be gone by the time Friends is probably broken. I wouldn't worry about it, I would just use Friends. If you're worried about it, but using Friends, maybe use Eagle Splendor instead. 17 to 20 bonus. That makes this fight a little bit easier.
I'm with you.
Alright, so we have the fight with probably the most kind of awesome music for a boss fight. So here's Raphael, 666 hit points. I've seen online someone mention he's got like 800 hit points. I'm assuming that person was using a mod and just kind of forgot. Oh, I was a bit silly earlier. I said, ooh, maybe you're worried about using Friends, but actually Friends was used on Raphael, not Jurgir. So yeah, take that. So we have legendary action, Beguiling Rebuke. You can spend a legendary action to beguile a hostile creature. Try to beguile your attacker and its nearby allies. Creatures charmed in this way cannot attack Raphael. And you can use this as many times as there are soul pillars standing at the start of the round. So in this first round, there are, well, 4 soul pillars. What I advise maybe you do is try and use some control spells at the beginning. Now, I've got Otto's Irresistible Dance. And since I'm an enchantment wizard, I can use it on 2 people. Using control spells is quite difficult here because they last only for a single turn. The pillars are vulnerable to bludgeoning and force damage. So one possibility would have been to use something like Artistry of War against the pillars. Now it is a good idea to take out the Cambions because they will be causing you problems. Some terms of attacks, I will also be taking them down quite early on if possible. There goes one. Again, action surge, first round of combat in these very difficult combats. Kind of feel like it'd be silly not to. I think one will be okay. Yeah. Can use Beguiling Rebuke under Otto's Irresistible Dance. But it can be counterspelled. It's a level 6 spell, so it's not very likely to work. So I'm just going to cause damage. So now Lae'zel cannot target Raphael. Doesn't mean she can't target other people though. Now Hope, when it gets to her turn, can banish Cambions, so you can leave that to her. As a mistake, I should have had Great Weapon Master on. Again with the action surge on the first turn, if you have it, as obviously only fighters get that. But that's one less pillar now that is out there. Disintegrate works very well against them. Let's see if maybe I get Shadowheart to use that. Now I said I would use... yeah, Shadowheart, Scroll of Disintegrate. Oh, I have to get within range. So I'm in range of this one. Gone. And that's because the Pillar of Souls will always automatically fail its saving throw. It doesn't even make a saving throw. It just works. So if you've got someone like a sorcerer who can twin disintegrate, that would be a very good idea as well. All right, turn one over. I'm going to keep banging on about this, but going early and using some of your important resources on the first turn will really help you. I've taken out 2 Cambions. Raphael and another Cambion are dancing around. Took out 2 pillars. Should be okay. Yerge goes nice and early as well. I do find it often kills Corilla. Let's just let that through. Do some damage. Yeah. Bit of a shame. You can knock her out, actually. And she will survive. So he has ascended. He's all big and scary. So that there was legendary action Soul Ascension, which has 60-10 necrotic damage, and allies turn into Hellfire Cambions. Cambions ascended by this cascade deal Hellfire damage, which ignores resistance and immunity to fire damage. Look at this. Revoke guest status, 100% chance to work, so maybe I can send this Hellfire Cambion back. Gone, and that's it. I pretty much always use this with Hope because it's essentially killing enemies. And just use Mass Healing Word. She's very good at it. Gonna use the Scroll of Disintegrate again. Alright, pillars are gone. So he's fairly weak to hold monster at the end of the day. His Wisdom 16 has only got a +3 bonus to saving throws, which is relatively low for someone who's supposed to be a big boss. So now we can lay into him. Soulbreaker, why not? Make him bleed. So yeah, this inevitable resolve, even though he was just held, it finishes after 1 turn, but being stunned lasts, interestingly. There we are. Another dead one here. And then over here. Sweeping up. So as with the other fights so far, the first round is kind of really important. Get rid of as many pillars as you can, and say probably Cambions as well. Trying to control Raphael is not a bad idea, but you're going to have to recast them every single turn, so your spell slots might disappear very quickly. From one banging tune to another, I really love the music and the fight here in this battle as well. So this is Sarevok. Also kind of a hangover from Baldur's Gate and Baldur's Gate 2, Throne of Baal, where you can have Sarevok fighting on your side. There are a couple of things with this fight that I think will help you out very much. Firstly, is we have a door just here, where we've got these 3 Death Knights outside. Use Arcane Lock on that door, and you don't have to worry about them at all. As soon as Sarevok is dead, these 3 fall down dead as well. So you can really take out half the fight by using Arcane Lock on this door. Secondly, Ilisira here is so annoying. She uses Counterspell and the first spell cast each turn. So kind of you need to bait the Counterspell out before using your kind of proper spells. So someone's going to have to take that Counterspell. And one nice thing here is Sarevok is still only human. He can be put to sleep. He can be held with hold person. Any of the other incapacitating conditions will work, except he does get legendary resistance against these incapacitating conditions. His legendary action for honor mode is he basically gets to strike back if someone hits him, but if you manage to incapacitate him, he's not going to be able to do that. So I'm going to get Gal here to use Arcane Lock.
Alright, what now?
Gone. And then we're going to run in and start the fight. We've got 10 turns before Arcane Lock runs out.
You gaze upon murder.
There we are. No, I didn't plan on doing that, but since this has happened,
Time to dally.
I see no reason why I shouldn't come and do this. She's going to get in the middle of it all. One thing to note here, also this isn't for honor mode, but when you kill these 3 echoes, so we've got 3 Bullspawn, Sendai, Amalasan, and Ilisira. Spoilers, I suppose, if you've never played Baldur's Gate 2. So when you kill Sendai, Sarevok's armor class goes up by 6. I would say that doesn't matter too much because Hold Person is going to completely screw him over. Amalasan, Sarevok's attacks will heal him for 2 to 24 hit points. Chill Touch will deal with that. So these 2 I tend to kill. This last one, Ilisira, hasten Sarevok. I don't think that's such a good idea. And also he won't be able to be restrained or paralyzed or anything that reduces his movement speed. I tend to leave Ilisira alive, as annoying as her counterspelling is. So this well, hopefully will show Sarevok's legendary action. There we are. So he comes and attacks the enemy. It does also mention that if he's got Deathbringer Legacy active, he will use Deathbringer Assault, which will completely ruin you. But he needs 4 attacks before he can use Deathbringer Assault. So we're safe for now. Oh, I did loads of damage just then. So, like I said, I'm Vicious Mockery. And there's the counterspell. Annoying, huh? I think it is. So now Gale, Hold Person 100%. Though he will have legendary resistance against that, because look at this. Sarevok's wisdom saving throw is just +2, which is awful. Which is why this says 100, even though a roll of a 20 should actually nullify that. At least in this game. Unfortunately, the echoes aren't humanoid, so yeah. So that's 1 save. That would be because of the legendary resistance, yeah. So we've got to try and get through these legendary resistances as quickly as possible. Let's just stop some attacks coming our way. Or spells being cast. So yeah, he's got this massive armor class now. This time I'm not going to use Action Surge. So he's going to hit someone else. Body strikes. So he's healing himself a bit. But next turn, I reckon I can get Hold Person out. The legendary action is back. So I'll try and hold Sarevok. Okay, fine. Now use Shadow Harp first, because Gale's chance of getting Hold Person out is, well, much higher. So he's got Deathbringer Assault now, which is very dangerous. Or Deathbringer's Legacy, sorry, not Deathbringer's Assault. But now he's held. So yeah, he doesn't stand a chance. This is what I was saving Action Surge for. There's no way he's gonna survive. Bonus action. Yeah, no worries. He's basically vulnerable to control spells. Once you get through the 3 legendary resistances, Hold Person will ruin his day. Sleep would have worked, but that only makes a critical hit for a single attack. Polymorph works very well as well. He can't use his legendary actions while polymorphed. To lock the Deathbringers out, I personally quite like to kill 2 of the 3 echoes before killing him, and then Hold Person's going to save the day. In Act 3, you have the choice of finding the hag again, Auntie Ethel, and her legendary action is exactly the same. When you cast a spell, she creates copies of herself, and the higher the level of the spell, the more copies she creates. There is a slight addition to the fight here, which isn't to do with honor mode. This happens in just the other modes as well. So we do have these Pearl Spore Bells, which are mushrooms, and I would advise you kill these first, because if you don't, the hag will be revived. So these Pearl Spore Bells are immune to psychic and poison, but otherwise there are no resistances or vulnerabilities. Probably go to turn-based mode because you might not be able to kill it quickly enough otherwise, because they do regenerate their hit points. At the start of its turn, this mushroom regains all of its hit points. Unless some effect prevented from restorative healing. Shadowheart. Indeed. Chill touch. Thank you very much. They've been bone chilled. They won't heal themselves. Also, I want to point out, I didn't point out earlier, these mushrooms, these fungi, do give the hag a +5 bonus to saving throws. So you really want to get rid of them anyway, regardless. The diva here might actually take out this mushroom. It might blow up in his face a little bit.
No.
There we are. So yeah, the legendary action, same as before, weird magic surge. She will produce illusory duplicates, so you have to be very careful. If you're going to use a spell, I would suggest a cantrip, because then she will produce the fewest duplicates. I'm assuming you did pick up the Hag's Bane that was given to you, potentially as part of this quest. You just throw it at Auntie Ethel.
In my best interest.
What did you...
This helps save the child,
Stay down, Vanra!
because that also made her nauseous. She can't take actions. This will help us out. Again, I'm going to try and get rid of these mushrooms first, because otherwise the hag will just get back up anyway. Fine. Actually, that was a bit more damage than I would have wanted. There's one more mushroom over this way. Up there.
There's a hag stench about you.
So yeah, cantrip will only produce one extra illusory duplicate. And so this is the one that's the real one. Oh, there we go. She produces a lot more. They're all invisible, which is slightly annoying. Now that didn't produce any more duplicates because she's already used her legendary action this round. There we are. I'd say that was fairly effective. Yeah, there we are. So a tiny bit more difficult than Act 1, but I think you're much better equipped to deal with her in Act 3 with all the items and the fact you've got much higher levels and better abilities. So take care of the mushrooms first, and if you've got the Hag's Bane potion, throw it on her, and then should be okay. Oh, and I completely forgot to say, I made things a tiny bit more difficult for myself. There are some haste balls right here that are there just when you turn up. So you can actually probably best come to this area first to make use of the haste balls, which I didn't do. So next we have Orin. This is one of the bosses you can't avoid. You really do have to go and kill Orin, fight Orin. I'm not a Dark Urge here, so I don't have it prepared. But generally what applies here should apply for the Dark Urge also. Now before I show you her legendary action, I do just want to go over one thing that seems to get people killed in this fight. And that is her ability to frighten your party. So you would do well to have a way to resist being frightened. Now you do have Hero's Feast, don't you? If you don't, honestly, this is one of the times I would really recommend using a hireling if you don't. I've already cast Hero's Feast because I've got a druid in my party. But other ways to help you resist being frightened can be, if you're a bard, a counter charm. Usually said to be fairly useless, because often you have to spend an action in combat, but if you know you're coming up against someone that's going to frighten you, perhaps you could cast that. If you're halfling, you already have advantage on the saving throws against it anyway. Calm emotions will work also, but Hero's Feast just makes you immune to being frightened, so I really think it's the best choice. Now to her legendary action, well, she's the daughter / granddaughter of Sarevok, so it shouldn't come as much of a surprise that she's got the same legendary action as Sarevok pretty much. She can immediately strike back at her attacker. We'll see her in her Slayer form anyway. Now also here, although we can't really target them, the Boon of Baal, kind of a cool name, has a legendary action which says basically if Orin hasn't used her legendary action and is not dueling, the Dreadlord places a creature under Baal's edict. So if you don't kill another creature before the end of your next turn, you will die instantly. This catches people out also. Also at the end of each round, the Boon of Baal will give Orin Unstoppable. In honor mode she has 12 lots of it, which means she needs to receive 12 attacks before you can actually really do any damage to her. But you can stop that from coming along if you get rid of these Reapers kind of doing the ritual. Now they're under Sanctuary, so you might be telling me, CVG, what can I do? They're under the effects of Sanctuary. What are you talking about? We can't get rid of them. Well, to that I say poppycock. We're going to get Gale to... He might die later, but whatever. We're going to get him to try and knock someone off. Could have used Thunder Wave. Other ways to make this work are arrows of roaring thunder. There we are. Void bulbs might work if you manage to get them in just the right place, but you can't see where the enemies are going to get pulled. So I can try here. And another one's gone. So maybe next turn I can get rid of the remaining 3. So let's try and do something to Orin, but of course she's got unstoppable, so there's no point. But we will see her legendary action. So she attacks twice, she gets 2 murderous strikes, and on her turn she's going to start kind of ramping those up. Now she does have legendary resistance against incapacitation, so plus 10 to saving throws against pretty much any of the useful conditions. So if I do try hold person, I'd say it's very, very unlikely to work. So she used the legendary resistance number 1. So the Slayer has a different legendary action. Uses Sanguine Lash, Super Warped Appendage, okay, in front of you to bleed targets and knock them back. The knocking back could potentially be very bad, could knock you off the side. It does bleed you. 8d8 damage isn't the worst, but will be something you need to look out for. So the Unstoppable gets replaced. Oh, that's a bit mean. It's put Baldur's Edict on Shadowheart, even though Orin did get to use her legendary action. So to make sure that Shadowheart doesn't just die at the end of this turn. We've all taken Hero's Feast, so we're all immune to the effects of Cloud Kill anyway. So we're working together to make sure Shadowheart gets the kill. There we are. And now that she's killed someone, Baldur's Edict is gone and Shadowheart lives another day. Otto's Irresistible Dance will work. So now, should be fairly safe. We just need to get rid of 1 Reaper. Oh dear, that was the appendage. Alright, this time, Baldur's Edict didn't come out, and that's because the Reaper did get to use its legendary action. And now it's just time to lay into Orin. Get rid of Unstoppable. So I did equip Gale with the necklace that gives an extra magic missile. So I'm going to use the highest level magic missile now to get rid of these the Unstoppable as quickly as possible. Give him haste spores. Since she's already prone, I can't put her to sleep, which is a little bit sad if you ask me. And there we are. So I would say get rid of the people doing the ritual, use some knockback, knock them off the edge, leave Orin till last. The most difficult thing to deal with is Baldur's Edict, making sure that you do get someone with a killing blow. So do make sure everyone can deal at least a little bit of damage. If you're really worried about that, leave the 2 guys in the middle kind of living until you're sure you can get rid of them. And AoEs affect the summoners around the sides. Next is Lord Enver Gortash, and his legendary action isn't actually listed here. He does have legendary resistance. He has advantage against saving throws against magic. He got magic resistance. And he's proficient in 4 types of saving throw. Seems a bit like cheating to me. He's proficient with dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws, which is a bit annoying on the wisdom side because the spells that target wisdom saving throws are generally some of the strongest control spells. But his strength and constitution saving throws he's really bad at. +0 for constitution and a +2 for strength. One item I didn't mention for the previous fight for Orin, which I probably should have done, is the smoke powder arrow. This can also knock people back. So let's make a grand entrance by blowing up his table. Right, he's a bit angry now. I'm surprised he hasn't come after me. Aha, there we are.
You chose to suffer. You chose to die.
There we are. This is what we're looking for. So we've got Gortash casting Tyrant's Bindings. We'll halve our movement speed, and if they're still present at the beginning of the next turn, they'll do 8d8 force damage. Let's let it through. Let's just see what it does to us. If it wasn't for a video, I'd probably just counterspell it. But now we have the legendary action Tyrannical Branding, which is what we've pretty much just seen, except this time, instead of him using it as an action, he can brand an attacker after being struck. So if I get a zombie to try and take that off of him. Oh, we broke his concentration with a zombie fist attack. Awesome. So taking another look at him now, his strength has zoomed up to 18. Since he has his shell of resistance, he's got immunity to thunder damage, resistance to physical and elemental damage, an extra bonus action, an extra 10 feet of movement speed if he's within 20 feet of the force curtain, and he's gained a whole load of hit points. There we are, he used his tyrannical branding, so now Shadowheart has this tyrannical curse going. But you see, at the end of the day, he is kind of just only human. It's a bit like Sarevok and even Orin, if before she's in the Slayer form, couldn't just cast Hold Person. Or at least try. And it's worked. This is where your amazing melee characters come in. Stun doesn't really do anything for us while he's held. But it turns this into a very straightforward combat in the end. Yeah, I just turned him into a zombie. Awesome. So there we have it. Gortash, he is very strong in his tyrant form, but he is only human. Get those legendary resistance gone, and then go for the controlling spells, because once he's under your control, he doesn't stand much of a chance. So you've made it atop the Nether Brain, and we have a few creatures up here who can have legendary actions. One is the Red Dragon. This dominated Red Dragon, the legendary action is exactly the same as Ansur. When you hit it, it unleashes its breath, except this time it's a fire breath instead of a lightning breath. One nice thing here though is Chain Lightning really does a number on the dominated Red Dragon. We do have a countdown timer on the side. Don't worry about that. It's just a Nautiloid. It'll drop a few projectiles. There might be a Mind Flare coming along. But compared to everything else here, it's just not worth worrying about. I tend to just kill everything slowly and methodically, so everyone can get into the final section of the final battle all together. Now, I do hope you brought along some haste spores, because honestly, a haste spore grenade here is so useful. And at least one, if not two, scrolls of invulnerability will get you through this fight, no problem. She's also going to chuck some water to make the Emperor and the Red Dragon wet, if possible. So we're going to set ourselves up for the next turn, in fact. So I'm going to bring up a Globe of Invulnerability first. So our party can just sit here and just attack things. Who are we going to bring out? Let's bring out Sword of the Silver Light, shall we? Although generally I have advocated for using Action Surge at the beginning, here I actually think if we're inside the Globe of Invulnerability, just wait. This time, bide your time. There's something that isn't listed when we look at the Crown of Karsus itself, but we'll use at the end of every turn as Cast-like Grip. So it crushes a creature's being with pure Netherese energy. So it can daze them and give them weak grip and do 8d8 force damage. But we're inside the Globe of Invulnerability. We're fine. Don't forget to use your Illithid to great effect. I must say, Nebulous Black Hole is very good. One reason for not rushing in is that the... Let's have a look at this flea. Yeah, we don't want that happening. Let's just stop it, shall we? The Illithid Arcanists can't cast Magic Missile on anyone if you're at this end of the brain. Let's get some haste spores out for real, shall we? Alright, the tide's about to turn. Gale, get Chain Lightning out on this dominated Red Dragon. There we are, that's what we needed. Let's try that again. There we are. Thing is, the Red Dragon seems to consist of multiple models together somehow. So when Chain Lightning hit, it hits kind of all the model parts that are there. Even if it doesn't look like they should exist. But, well, they do. I just mocked a dragon to death. Then it's just the Arcanists left. Wait for the fodder to go forwards. Summon more. I'm going to send everyone forwards at once. All in one go when it's time. So I'm going to wait until next turn until everyone's got all the actions. Seems like a very good time to summon whoever we can. So effectively, I'm just overwhelming the mind flayers with numbers. Avoid the tentacles in the middle. There's no need to be focusing on them at all. The countdown is for Nautiloid, and again, it's really not the end of the world. You see some areas that are going to get targeted. Thanks, Yoga. But we can see where they are, so you just need to get out of the way. Lae'zel should take care of the Illithids. This one's stunned, so she can leave it for someone else to attack. Just started the ritual to open up the Crown of Karsus, or use the Crown of Karsus. Here's the Nautiloid, not really being very scary. One very important thing is that before you go in to fight the brain itself, make sure everyone's ready to actually go in. So I've got everyone here. I'm just going to wait. This Mind Flayer came from the Nautiloid, but it's just one extra Mind Flayer. Ideally, the person who is doing the Crown of Karsus would go at the beginning of the turn, so the rest of your party can go in, but you've got to make do with what you've got. So what's the special thing here then? Well, you've got Sonic Retribution. As a reaction to taking damage, it releases Brain Quakes, which emits a wave of sonic force that mind breaks, and an affected entity is slowed, which means it can only take a single action for a turn and does 10d6 psychic damage. There we are, that was the Sonic Retribution. Now from here we do have a timer. We've got 5 turns, at which point you pay no attention to what's happening outside of this room here. This is where, honestly, you really want to have at least one haste spore grenade to use outside here. So when you go in, everyone apart from the person who used it, unless you used it the turn before, has 2 actions. So we go inside. We saw it used Orb of Negation. So at the end of this turn, the Orb of Negation does 20d10 force damage, and these platforms highlighted in red/pink will disappear. If your party members are standing on the platforms that are highlighted like this, they will die, and there's basically no way to get them back. Now, I have seen people streaming a couple of times on Twitch saying, oh my gosh, I didn't know these platforms are going to disappear. The game doesn't tell me, but I would say they're quite clearly highlighted like pink/red. I have also read some people say that even platforms that weren't highlighted have been destroyed. I haven't seen that happen. It's just what people are claiming. So, but take that as you will. So last turn I did some psychic damage to the brain. It is now this turn immune to psychic damage. The nether brain is immune to all types of damage it took in the previous round until the start of its next turn. So this turn I want to focus on just each turn one or two types of damage. I sure hope you kept your Scrolls of Disintegrate here. I bought loads of them. It seems like Shadowheart's just out of range, which is sad. So instead, I'm going to use people who can fly. Fly is so useful for this final section. So Disintegrate, 71 damage. Oh, I got Mind Broken, right. This is fine. Gale can't fly, but he does have Misty Step, at least. Into the Haste Spores. Into the Netherbrain Psyche. Okay, make sure we're close enough. Okay, maybe that was a bit over the top. In fact, this will do more damage. There we are. Another Scroll of Disintegrate. Boom. So for me, that final battle is take your time in the first section. Make sure you're ready to go in to fight the Netherbrain and go in and use one type of damage only. Disintegrate does loads of damage, single target damage. Usually, I don't rate it very well, but for the final boss, it's really, really, really good, especially in honor mode. So if you don't manage to kill the brain in that one turn, you can rely on other damage types in the turn after. So let me know about your tips and tricks for the Act 3 bosses. This has been a slightly longer video because there are lots of bosses and some of them take some time to do. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next one.